Do you need to change the fuel filter in your Mark III Supra? Yeah, Toyota decided to put this thing in one of the most inaccessible places you can even imagine. Some people can't even find where it goes. Well, let me save you a little bit of grief today. Let me show you exactly what wrenches and tools and how you're going to access this thing and get it out. Alright, so to begin with, this is mounted just like this on the floor of the car, right above the rear differential. Okay. The only way you're going to even get your hand up in there is to stick it between your axle and your suspension arms of your rear suspension to get to it. So, number one, guys, this car had to be on jack stands. I'm a real small person. I probably could have sneaked underneath here and maybe gotten this job done. There's no way I could have shown you on video what I'm doing. Most people are going to have it jacked up, so be safe. Make sure you have it on jack stands. Do not trust your life for a $15 fuel filter, okay? Okay, so this filter, like I said, mounts just like that. On this side is the outlet side, is a steel line, a solid steel line that has a flare nut that holds it line in here, okay? So to get that one loose, you're gonna need a flare nut wrench. Do not use anything but this. That can be so tight and so difficult, you strip it off one time and that's it. You're never getting it off again. That whole line's gonna have to be repaired, replaced, or something, okay? Don't mess it up. But you're gonna need this 14mm flare nut wrench, and you're gonna also have to hold this side with a 19mm open end, okay? The other side, you know, same 19mm open end you're gonna have, but this side has a flexible hose. It has a steel line on the end of it that has a banjo bolt that goes through it. You're gonna need a 19mm socket to get that off, okay? Both of these times you're gonna have to hold this fuel filter with the 19mm wrench while you're loosening either the nut or the banjo bolt. Because this thing has a bracket to hold it around here with a bolt. If you try to start turning this nut or that banjo bolt, you're just going to bend the bracket. It's not going to have enough pressure to hold the force it takes to loosen these nuts. Okay, so I'm going to try to give you a picture, a shot of where this is at and how to access these two bolts. Okay, so bear with me. I got to crawl underneath the car just a minute. Okay, see if I can show you. Really hard to see, but right there is your fuel filter, okay? On the right hand side over here is where the banjo bolt is, on the passenger side of the car. On the other side is the steel line, and you can see I have the two wrenches on that nut, okay? So I want to show you where you got to put your arm through and where you got to put that 19mm and 14mm flare nut wrench. Okay, so when you look at the car, basically you're going to be putting your arm through here. Okay, this is your access point right here. And when you do, I'm going to scoot back here now. I'll show you a better view. This is how my two wrenches are going to look on the nut and on the filter itself. Okay, on that driver's side. So I'm going to have to hold on to this wrench, keep it from falling down, or reach up, pull down to loosen the nut. Okay, so I'm gonna pull down, it's gonna loosen that nut. All right, I don't need this anymore. I'm gonna just put it over here now. I'll show you that one in a second. Once you get this broken free, make sure this nut spins easily. Okay, if your line is spinning with the nut, you need to lubricate this real good with some penetrating oil, because you won't be able to get it all the way loose. All right, now this side, the same thing. All I need now, excuse me, is to put my ratchet on this nut. And the same thing, I'm going to hold the wrench, the 19mm wrench, and I'm going to turn the ratchet and break this banjo bolt free. Okay. Now, at this point, the only thing left to do is to take loose
all unthread the bolt and the nut, and then you'll loosen, so I can get a good picture. That nut right there is a 10mm socket to loosen that nut, and you just slide the whole filter out. I'm gonna pause for a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and get these two lines disconnected and get that bolt loose, and I'm gonna show you taking this filter out and put the new one in place. Okay? Be back in just a second. I decided to spare you the gusher of gas that comes out whenever you actually try to remove the filter. But you can see here the bracket without the filter in place. You can see the banjo bolt here on this hose. Okay. If you notice that the bracket itself has 3 places on it, 1, 2, 3, that match the fuel filter itself. Okay, has these indentations that are stick out. There's 3 of them. You'll line those up with the bracket, and this bracket part here that holds that banjo bolt is going to be facing down. Okay, so let's see if I can reach up there while I'm showing you a picture and how it goes in place. It's hard to even get that thing between the suspension. Okay, so as you're going in, you'll be running into that steel line in the back. So it's best to go ahead and try to get that back nut started if you can, and then you fit this whole thing into place. All right, you're gonna get both nuts tightened back up, and then after you get both bolts at least started and almost all the way tight, then tighten the clamp on your fuel filter. Don't tighten that till last, because that'll help you get these threads started on both your banjo bolt and the nut. And also, your banjo bolt should come with a new sealing washer that goes on right here. It goes on the outside of the banjo bolt, okay? There's not one used on the inside bolt. The fuel filter itself is like made out of brass, so I guess it seals itself. All right, so I'm gonna get these things tightened up. And one last time, we'll pause and we'll come back. I want to show you how to prime your fuel filter, your fuel system, so you can check for any leaks. Okay? See you in just a minute. All right, so once you get your banjo bolt tightened back up, your nut tightened back up, and your bracket bolt tightened back up, and it's all back in place, you should be ready to prime the system and check for any leaks. I went ahead and put 2 washers. I put one on each side of this fitting. That's just how I've always seen it done everywhere. And I don't know, call me crazy. Didn't have it on there originally when I took off, but I put it on there anyway. So like I said, your hose is held in place in between the notch of this bracket. Okay, this is how it should look when you're done. So now I need to show you how to prime the fuel system. On most modern cars, you can just turn the ignition key to the on position and you'll hear the fuel pump running. Well, that's not possible on this car. The fuel pump system doesn't actually start until you hit the start position on the ignition switch. But Toyota gave us a method of doing this, and it's your diagnostics port right here. So just open this cap. It's not supposed to come all the way off, but unfortunately mine's been broken since I bought the car. And if you look at the terminal designations in there, the far upper left says FP, the far bottom left says B positive. That's for fuel pump and battery positive. So all I need to do is bridge those 2 terminals, and I should hear my fuel pump come on, and I should hear the fuel circulating in the system in the engine. So all I actually need is a small jumper wire. But for this system to work, you have to actually turn the key to the on position. So let's turn the key to the on position and see what happens. Okay. There we go. Key on.
Don't start the car. Don't need to start the car. We don't want to do that until we make sure we don't have any leaks. And then we're just going to connect these two connectors, okay? And listen to what happens. Ready? There we go. And there we go. You hear the fuel circulating through your fuel rail, through your regulator, and back through your return line, okay? Disconnect the wire, and everything stops, okay? That length of time should easily be enough time to prime the fuel system, to get the fuel filter full of fuel. Make sure you turn your key off. Electricity and fuel do not go together well. Climb back underneath your car and make sure there's absolutely no leaks. Not one single drop of fuel should be coming out of that filter, okay? Look where the exhaust pipe is. Look where your fuel filter is. Do not want any leaks, people, okay? There's going to be a fireball going down the highway if you do, okay? Be very careful. Make sure you got that stuff tightened up right. Make sure you check for leaks before you ever start this car, okay? It's not the easiest job in the world on a Toyota. There's worse jobs on this Supra to do than this, but anyway, trying to show you the easiest way, pretty much the only way. And hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching.